Everybody, it's Andrew Brown, and welcome to Dave's Cloud Project Bootcamp. I am back as we continue on with securing Flask. So we definitely know that the no debug mode works. The reload, I'm not really concerned about. Like, there's nothing to really reload in terms of the code. I guess you could log on the server and make a change. So that might be something that we want to test as well. So, maybe what we can do here is say no debug, and then no reload. Okay, because it shouldn't reload any code. We don't want it to. And again, we're not going to keep these changes here. This is for, this will be for our prod, but I just want to be sure that the no reload is not working. So if we change a piece of code, we have confidence that it's just not going to do that. So if we go back here and give this a refresh, this still shows that error there. And so if we were to log in, right, we haven't restarted this server, so it's not using no reload right now. But if we were to connect to this instance here, then we should be able to see. If we change some code, like we take out that error if it resolves it, which it shouldn't, because I mean we don't want it to in production, but it might. So what I'm going to do here is just expand here, and we'll do attach shell, and we're going to shell in there. I'm going to do an ls, and we're going to take a look around. So that is in our app.py. So I'm really good at Vim. If you're not, that's okay, but I'm going to type it vi.app.py. And so that is not an option available to us. But the code is being synced because we're using Docker Compose. So what we can do is go over here to the backend and just remove it. I was thinking we had to shell into it to change it as an example, but we don't. So I just want to make sure that's still running. Yeah, it's still running. So we'll go here, and I want to just go resolve the error. Okay. Just want to make sure all this stuff is working as we expect it to, not just put the flags in and just assume that it works. So I'm looking for this, and so I'll just take these two lines out. We'll save that, we'll refresh it. And it's not hot auto reloading, which to me is fine. I don't really want it to do that, but it isn't hot reloading. So I thought that it would hot reload, and it's definitely not. So I guess in that case, good. But I really thought it would have auto reloaded that code. So I do think that the flag might be working, but we didn't do it when we were doing that. So anyway, my confidence is that it probably is, the hot reload is disabled. So what we'll do now is we'll just change that back to how it was, which is with debug flag on. And what we can do is now go to our prod. And so our prod is set up for no debug, no debugger, no reload. So it has all those options in place. So we are in good shape to make sure that that is correct. So what I want to do is go ahead and build this image and then push it. So what we'll do is go .bin docker build backend. Oh, it's probably not executable yet. So let's say chmod u plus x here. And I'll just go to the end here. So that does autocomplete. And so now we can actually just run this and build it. And that will build our production one, and we'll push that one. So to do this, it's a little bit different. So maybe we should also, while we're here, we might as well just give us more convenience scripts, because I like convenience. I don't know about you, but I like to not have to do as much. And so in here, we'll have the new folder here called push. And this will be similar. So I'll just copy this name here, and I'm just going to make a new file here called that. And we'll just chmod that so we don't have to worry about it later. Bin docker build push backend Flask prod. I'm not sure why it's not auto-completing. Cannot access the file. No such file or directory. Oh, it's not build push. It's just push. That's why. We'll hit enter. And so now we can execute that when we want to. I'm going to go over to this line here, copy this, paste this in. And so there's a few things we need to do to push this, and I believe we have it in our code. So we need to tag the image. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that. Push the image. So we have tag, push, build, tag, push. We don't need to build it here. I just want to tag it and push it. And, you know, if we need to, we can also trigger the login, which might be a good idea. So if we did that, I think it's relative to where this file is. We really got to get that real path in. I know someone solved it in our Docker there, but anyway, I'm just going to leave it. We'll keep them separate, like the build and push. But it would be nice if it always attempted to log us in, because that would make our lives a lot easier. So anyway, I think we've built it, which makes sense. The only issue here is that we need to adjust this because we want to push the prod one and not our development one. So I'm going to go here and put in prod. And so that will do what I want it to do, or it should at least anyway. So we're going to go bin here, Docker push backend Flask prod is not a valid repository invalid reference format. Maybe it needs to set that this here. So I'll just grab this here for a second, paste that in here. Okay, and so then at least it's referencing that. There we go. So now it's pushing it. So yeah, there we go. That's the way we're going to do our prod. Again, I kind of want to move this bin directory out to the top level, and then we need to apply that fix, which we really should. So we're not using real path, it's something like absolute path or something. Okay, so now what I want to do is go back to ECS, and we want to do a new deploy. So it would be nice if we, again, had a script in order to just tear this stuff down constantly. I get kind of tired having to click through this stuff. I wonder if there is one. So we'll go ask ChatGPT, even though it's wrong half the time. Maybe it's because we should use for. So I'm going to say here, AWS CLI command to force a new deployment using the latest task definition for a Fargate service. Let's see if it can do it. I'm trying every day to see if it'll work. I've been trying Copilot as well for GitHub Copilot. Again, I think it's good for people that aren't good at this stuff, but for someone like me that knows what they're doing, I just get junk back and I'm just always annoyed with it. And it's just like less work if I just do it myself, most of the time. Retrieve the latest task definition, update the service with the new task definition, which makes sense, and then monitor the deployment status. I guess that's kind of true. All right, so we'll see if we can get this to work as we want. So I'm going to make a new one here and say new file. And here we could have made the folder like connect and then backend Flask, but I just didn't do that. So I'm going to go here and make a new folder. Do we need a new folder? We're just trying to restart or deploy. I guess force deploy. I'm going to say force deploy backend Flask. And we'll just paste these commands in and just take a look and see if they actually are what we want them to be. So copy, paste. We'll go back over to ChatGPT and see what it's been coming up with. And so that it says to do this. I will decide if that's true, and then we can monitor it. Okay. It didn't really solve it for us, but I mean, I guess it saved me a little bit of Googling, which is, I guess, kind of okay. So here, this is going to be Crutter. The service here is called backend Flask. We don't have the ARN there as of yet, but there's that force new deployment task. We can go up here and just be like cluster name equals Crutter. service name equals backend Flask. And so then I can just do that, service name. It's a little bit cleaner, I think. Cluster name. And here it's only describing the last service. So even still, it didn't give us... isn't helpful. I guess it's kind of helpful. I don't know. It's not that great. Because we still need to know what the latest task definition is, right? So here we have... Well, it does say describe task definition. But that's for individualistic ones. So we'll go AWS CLI. Because I think we want to list them all, not describe them all. Sometimes describe is listing. It's just confusing. So if I go list task definitions, there's the families. I don't need the families. I just want to get the task definitions. Return a list of task definitions that are registered to your account. You can filter the results by family and prefix. Okay. Is that what it said to do first? And it didn't actually give us that? Retrieve the latest task definition. Your task definition family name. Well, what's it called? Backend Flask or Crutter? I forget. So we'll go into our task definitions, I suppose. Task definitions. And yeah, it's called Backend Flask. Okay, so if we go in here, family. Oh, come on. Give me a break. Backend Flask. I really want to be using MacVim, but I have to be on a Windows machine when we're doing this stuff, unfortunately. So you're just going to hear me complain constantly about it. Okay, so then we have query task definition for get the yarn. So maybe this actually is good. So I'm going to just type in clear here. And we'll hit enter and go paste. And it says output command not found. That's fine because we need to do that. So we'll do this. Well, it's not going to know what the task definition family is. So just give me a second, okay? All right, so, okay, so down below here, yeah, I guess I could set these temporarily. It's not like that big of a deal. I'm just kind of being lazy here. And then we'll run this one and take a look and see what this one does. Okay, so this returns the latest ARN, which is number 12. I guess it'd be good to know a little bit more about what it's actually setting here, and I'd probably like to say like, hey, show me what it is and then let me decide if I want to run it. So what I'm going to do here is just go here and run this. And so here, does it always return the latest? It does return the latest. Okay, well, this is always returning the latest, so I'm not really sure that we have to do anything special here. We just want to make sure that we're returning the latest. So this one is going to be like the latest task definition. Maybe ChatGPT is doing a good job today. Or latest. Sorry about that. Okay, and so now that we have that, we can go down here and we'll just paste it in here. We'll just temporarily set these. And so here we will do an update. Expected one argument. Well, isn't that one set? I guess because we set it down here. 1 second here. And now when we run this one, this will force a new deployment. And then what we can do is check on the status. So that doesn't really help too much. So this last step is not that useful because we need to continuously check and see when it actually comes up. But I'm going to just comment it out so that at least we have it here, okay? And I'll have to think about that because, you know, we might want to continuously check to see what's going on there. But what I'm going to do here is just do an update, and now we have a way of updating this. So we'll refresh this. And so that's in progress. So just say, we change these around. What do we do? Nothing on these files? Well, we added that one and that didn't even exist. All right, so we're pushing that side of it. On the other side, we need to go and build our React.js one here. And the issue here is that this is not pointing to the correct directory. So maybe it's time that we go take a look. I'm going to go in Discord and I'm going to go find that solution that one of the students had posted, okay? I'll be back in a second. All right, so here we have a better solution. So the idea here is that we're using real path, and what we should be using is read link. This command will get the absolute path for the script. Get the grandparent script so we can do, we get the absolute path, we get its directory, and we go up a level. So now we can reference the schema in the absolute path. So that looks like a decent solution. So let's give it a go and see if that actually works. So what we can do is probably test that with something very simple like the DB Connect, I think probably be a good example. No, not necessarily. It's because we need to reference a file. So wherever we're using real path like this one, but we don't want to, I really don't want to load a schema. So I guess we'll just do it for the file that we're actually in right now. So, or for what we're actually doing. So for ECS, we're trying to, not ECS, for Docker, we're trying to rebuild the front end. And so it has this file here. And so we actually have to specify its absolute path for this and the absolute path of the stuff that it's building. Okay, and so here it's suggesting that we do this. And we can actually just check this out by running this locally, I believe. I'm just copying this part here. And so I just want to paste it and see what that does. I mean, it's giving me bin bash, so that's not exactly what I want. But what I can do here is I'll just comment this out for a second. And I'm just grabbing this part here. We'll paste that in, and I'm just going to echo that out because I just want to see what the results are if I do that. Okay, so I'll do bin, docker, build, front end. Oh, I have to chmod it, or no, I shouldn't have to chmod that because it should already be chmoded, but I'm going to do it anyway just in case. So we'll do docker, bin, docker, build, front end, bin, docker, build, front end here. And so this is printing out the absolute path to this file. So I want to go back a directory and I want to see what I get. So if I do this, and we go back in Flask, what do we get? We still get it. So that's giving us the absolute path. That is great. The suggestion here is to get the directory and go up one. So this could go up each one. I'm not sure if there's an easier way to do that. But I'm totally fine with doing that because really what I want is the absolute path, like of our root directory. So if we're in here and it's here, we're going up 1, 2, and then 3, and that should be our root. Okay. So in here, I'm just going to do this 3 times. So we have our read link. Okay. I'm going to say dir name. If there's a nicer way to do it, I probably should look it up, but I'm not going to. And then we want to go up 3 directories. We'll say project path. And so this is what I want to find out if this will work. Line 14, unexpected end of file. Well, that's not true. There's no end of file there, but it could not like the way I've been doing all this stuff. So let me just think here for a second. Let's try something simpler. Let's just do this. Okay, can we feed it like that? Yes. Okay, so that's working. I wonder if you could, as the second parameter, like do this. Could I do that? Let's take a look at how dir works. Man dir, or dir name. Strip the last component from the file name. Oh, okay, so that's just stripping it. That's not necessarily making it go up. I see. So what they're doing is that they keep stripping off the end of it till it gets to the root. I don't know if that's what I'd like to do. So we'll go over here and we'll say use read link to get the absolute path of the bash script executing, and then go up 3 directories. Let's see if it can do this. Come on, ChatGPT, you can do it. It's on GPT-4, so it's a little bit slow. I'm not sure what bash source is. Okay, so it does that exactly as the other one. So I suppose that's fine. I was hoping for something else. The only thing I'm noticing here is that it is wrapping it in a string. I'm not sure if that is necessary for each time. It only seems to be necessary for dir name. So I guess we could do that and see if that makes any difference here. Okay, so now what do I get? Does that work? Yep. And then we will do $ dir name. And we'll go up another directory. Great. We'll go up another directory. $ dir name. I've done something wrong here. Is there like an easier way for us to do this? So maybe we could do like, just make it more readable. So I'll go here and we'll just say, like as they were doing, apps path. And then we could say this is the build path, Docker path, bin path, backend Flask path. And then we have root, project root. It's not as pretty. Like obviously this is a lot more condensed, but at least we know that this will work in a more clear way. So then I can just go here, say equals dir name. Is this a good idea? I don't know. Well, geez, that's no good. At least the first one I would hope would work correctly. Well, the first one's fine. Oh, you know what? There's no $ here. Okay, so that clearly works. And so now I'm kind of going, well, you know what? We should really move this bin directory out here because this is utilities for both of them, and I'm going to move that up out of here. So I'm not sure if it's going to let me. Come on, move. Just top level. We'll say move bin back a directory. And so now this should be here. Where's my bin directory? Did I lose it? ls. Where'd it go? Okay. Apparently I deleted them all. I didn't delete them all. So I guess what I'll do, just so I don't lose this file, I don't want to be goofing around here. Let's undo all this stuff. Discard changes, restore files. All I wanted to do was move it up a directory. So we'll go into here, move bin ... There we go. I'm not sure what we lost, hopefully not a lot. And we will go back into our, what file here? DB. Oh, we're doing Docker here. And so I'll go into my build now, into my front end. Doesn't look like we lost anything important. I'm just gonna go ahead and paste that in. And so what I want to do here is I just want to, oops, come on. I just don't want to have to deal with this. And so this is gonna make a lot more sense in terms of our pathing. So I'm just thinking about this here for a second. I don't know, this doesn't really bother me, to be honest, like the amount of lines here. I think it's pretty clear what paths we are, and then we don't have to make any mistakes. So I think I'm just gonna stick with this when I need to reference stuff. Okay, so now that we have those, what I'm gonna do is go ahead and comment this out. This is our project path. I know that's already correct. I'm not sure if that prints it actually out with or without the /. That's something I need to know. Okay. And now this is just bin, which is a lot nicer. No such file or directory. Well, where are we here? Oh, we're in backend Flask, that's why. We'll hit enter. What do you mean permission denied? Chmod u+x here. Okay, so it is returning it without the /, which is great. So I'm liking that. So I'm just thinking here. Okay, so this is fine. So what I'll do here now is I'm just going to go ahead and take that out. This build path is not supposed to be there. I think that just kind of got in there by accident. And so the two that matter is this here and this one here. So for this, we want our project path. And for that, I'm just going to say backend Flask path is going to be this plus backend Flask. Okay, and so now I can go, well, we actually want front end. Front end React.js path, sorry. Front end React.js. And we'll go down here, and then what we'll do is just do this. And then for this, we can place this as the directory. I'm not sure if we need to do it like this, but I'll just try it, okay? All right, and so hopefully that will go and attempt to build that out. Seems like it's building. Okay, so yeah, now we can do absolute paths, which is really nice. Cool. Do we have any other absolute paths we have to worry about? I mean, this one we do. So we'll go here, and I'll go ahead and grab this. This is going to be a similar story, but here it's going to be back end. Just put these together, I guess. Back end Flask path. Back end Flask. Right? And then we'll just put these on new lines. Anyone that tells you you don't need coding to work in cloud, they are lying to you. Well, in a technical role. If it's a technical adjacent role, that's a different story. So go ahead and paste that on in there. We don't want this underscore here. That makes no sense. And, well, we don't even need it like that. We'll just do it like this. That's fine. And then this one is just here, quite similarly. There we go. So that is a lot better. We'll keep letting that build as we're waiting. I'm just going to keep updating these scripts. So that one doesn't require it. Does the run need it? No, this one doesn't care where you are. Does ECR matter where you are? No, that doesn't matter where you are. Does this connect matter? No, this one is not contextual. Same thing with this one. This one's fine. I think where we're going to run into issues is more so other stuff like building. This one's not contextual. What about RDS? This one doesn't care either. I think it's going to be like the database stuff probably. Let's see. Drop. No, that doesn't care. That doesn't care. A lot of these don't care. I mean, there's this stuff here because this is checking for what path you're on, right? So this one would be check the current path. Bin, because like this assumed it was in the bin directory before and it's not, right? So before this was in backend Flask bin, it would say get the absolute path of this file. And then it would say go up a directory. So you'd go outside of bin. I'm not sure. We'd have to run these to find out, I guess. Check out our scan. We'll look at our list tables. This one looks fine. How about our patterns? These don't seem to care either. It just seems like our schema load, or is it our seed, or our seed matters, and maybe, yeah, so our seed might matter for our DDB. How about these ones? This one doesn't care. This one doesn't care. This one doesn't care. This one might care, the schema load, because this is using real path. This is a bash script, so we can fix this one. So what I'm thinking here, I'm just going to close these ones out because those are old, obviously. It is confused. So we were just doing that here, so I'm just going to go ahead and copy the backend one because it's probably backend related. And so if we go back to schema load, it wants to know where the schema is. So I'd go here, and then we could just have schema path. As you can see, these are lowercases, uppercase. Doesn't really matter. Just you do whatever you want. And so I'll just go here, and we'll take that out, and then we'll put that in like that. Again, very, well, this one doesn't need all these paths, right? So this is in DB. So this is the absolute path. There's no build path. There's no Docker path. It'd just be bin like that. So we go here and paste that there. So that fixed that pathing for that one, schema load. We'll have to run all this stuff to make sure. Same thing here. So we'll go ahead and grab this. Session doesn't matter. What about setup? This one's looking for the bin path. So if I go here, we only need to go up 2. Just to keep with our formatting before. There we go. So that should still work. Test. Yeah, I'm just not sure about these. Right, that's what I'm not sure about. I know in our git pod YAML file, we're going to have to update that because now it is not this. So if we go down to, oh, where is it? RDS. It's now just bin. So we'll type in bin, some other places. It's the only one that's in there. So this might be a very easy one to test to see if that is working because this is a Postgres script. So what I'm going to do is just export this here. And then I'm going to run bin RDS update group, see if this still works. Returns true. Okay, so we don't have to update, I don't think, our Postgres runs, and so this stuff will fix a lot of those issues. I'm going to go here and say refactor, we'll say refactor bin directory to be top level. Okay, and so that's going to produce less pain for us. I feel like there's a little bit more we could do here to make this a little bit easier, but for the time being, this is going to make things simpler. So I believe what we were doing was we were building out that Docker file there. So we built it, and now we need to push it. And so we'll go take a look at our push script here. We don't have one for the front end, so let's say new file, front end, React.js prod. I guess we would never really not be pushing to prod, so we don't really need to specify prod, but I'm going to do that anyway, just so that we don't forget what we are doing. I'll go ahead and paste that in. This one's going to be a little bit different because we want the ECR front end here. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab this here. We'll go above there. And then this is going to get replaced with this. Could probably just grab both lines. And then we'll grab our tagging. And then we'll go grab our push. Great. So now we can do bin. Well, we have to make that one executable, eh? Chmod u plus x bin Docker push front end React.js prod. Okay, so now what we want to do here is run that. Okay. So that is pushing that. So that is good. So now that is pushed. So both our images are pushed. We did tell it to, is it run? What's the one that rebuilds? It's an ECS, right? ECS here. Force deployment of backend. So I'm going to do one for the front end now. So let's say new file, force deploy front end React.js. We'll copy the contents here. Very similar to what we want to do here. We'll go ahead and paste this in. So we'll say front end React.js, front end React.js. And so that would be the same. Yeah, it's pretty much the same. We just change those names around. Could this have been one file and we specified what we're changing? Sure, but we'll just keep them separate. Chmod bin oh, I gotta put u plus x probably first. That's why it's complaining. bin ECS front end. There we go. Okay, great. And so what we'll go ahead and do is just copy this. Hit enter. Great. So now that should update that. And so they both should be updating, and that means that they are now, I mean, did we have to update the front end? I don't think so. It's just the back end, right? Because we were just setting that one to prod, but I guess we were just kind of doing the busy work and setting up the front end or bash commands. So let's go take a look at the front end and take a look at what we get here. So if we go into here and I hit refresh, that's great. Oh, this is actually not production. If we want production, we got to do API crutter.com. Still says it can't be reached. It's not true. It can be reached. This thing is such a liar. I just don't want to clear out my history. That's the reason why. I've been pretty adamant about not doing that. And I was going to ask Bako about like how I can fix that without clearing everything. And I hope he doesn't say like you have to clear everything. So this looks fine. We'll do API health check. This is fine. Let's go look at API activities home. And we're getting data now. Before we were getting an error for something. It was on something. But I feel like we could just force an error probably. So if we were to do, I don't know, let's put something random in here. It's a server error. So now it's not returning that stuff. So this comes really back to, are we using Python in a safe way? So let's go back, like Flask debug mode. So do not run the development server or enable the built-in debugger in a production environment. Do not run the development server. And so the development server, the built-in development server provides this. So this is the development server. When you're using Ruby, Ruby has this concept of rack, okay? And it's a web interface. And so rack, what it does, it's a good concept to understand, is that it sits in between your web server and the endport. So the idea is that if something is rack compatible, you can just do rack up and it's able to run any kind of web interface. I don't think Python has, what is the Python equivalent of Ruby rack? Okay, so WSGI is the rack for Python. Okay, that makes sense. So then WSGI predates rack. I think WSGI is how we used to deploy stuff. No? Because I remember before rack and all this other stuff, the only way to deploy stuff was with SGI or WSGI, Web Server Gateway Interface. Isn't that like super old? Let's just take a look here. I remember back in like 2005, 2006. This is where my brain is going here. Was it like WSGI PHP? I'm just trying to remember here. Yeah, mod WSGI. This is what I remember back in the day. But maybe it wasn't W. I don't know. The Web Server Gateway Interface, pronounced whiskey, is simply calling convention for web servers to forward ports to web apps to frameworks in the Python framework. So WSGI must be inspired by another one. I just don't remember. Ruby mod SGI. I swear to you, there's one that's very similar in lettering that's even older, and I just can't remember it anymore. But that's okay. Yeah, maybe like, oh, CGI. That's probably what I'm thinking of. Common Gateway Interface is an interface specification that enables web servers to execute an external program, typically for web processing. Okay, that's great. So let's go back here and take a look at what this thing is. Okay. So Workazug is a comprehensive WSGI web application library. It began as a simple collection of various utilities. WSGI application has become one of the most advanced WSGI utility libraries. Why can't we run it into production? Like, why not? for production servers. After developing your application, you'll want to make it available publicly to other users. When you're developing locally, you're probably using built-in development server. These should not be used in production. Instead, you should use a dedicated WSGI server on a hosting platform, some of which will be described here. Production means not development, which applies to whether you're serving your application publicly to millions, etc. Do not use the development server when deploying to production. It is intended for only during local development. It is not designed to be particularly secure, stable, or efficient. But what does that mean, right? Because again, we're running a single process in a container, and a lot of the security benefits we're going to get is from the cloud. So I'm still not convinced, but let's keep reading. The primary goal of these docs is to familiarize with these concepts involving running WSGI application using production WSGI server and HTTP server. There are many WSGI servers and HTTP servers with many configuration possibilities. So there are a bunch here. WSGI servers has HTTP servers built in. However, a dedicated HTTP server may be safer, more efficient, or more capable of putting HTTP server in front of WSGI server is called reverse proxy. And this is something that we would commonly do back in the day. It's when you were on a single virtual machine. They just would say like, hey, don't use WebBrick, like Ruby WebBrick, or anything, and make sure there's something in front of it. But again, they're not saying why. You know, like they're saying, oh, it's not intended for that kind of thing. But again, this could be talking about virtual machines and not containers. Let's go take a look at Gunicorn. It's a pure Python WSGI server with simple configuration. Okay, it tends to be integrated easily with the hosting platforms. So yeah, I'm just not convinced. Because then we'd have to figure this out, and this could be a headache. Let's see if ChatGPT can give us an answer. Write a Docker file that uses that hosts a Flask app running Gunicorn. Let's see what it comes up with. And by the way, if you look up like AWS and other resources, they will show that they don't use anything. They just run it bare. And again, like I know that using WebBrick that you can just run it bare. You don't need to have something in front of it. Because think of what a reverse proxy is. Like we have a load balancer in front of our thing, like an HTTP load balancer. So what is it that is required that we're missing? So here it's just using Python directly. Yeah, I mean, we are too. Is it just a matter of installing Gunicorn? Is it that simple? Because in Ruby, all you do is you say gem puma and then it uses it, right? I mean, like if it's as simple as that, then maybe we could just use Gunicorn, but it could have more overhead using it, but let's go find out. Green Unicorn is the Python WSGI HTTP server for Unix. It's pre-forked worker models ported from Ruby's stuff. So Gunicorn server is broadly compatible with various web servers, implemented light server on server resources usage, fairly speedy. But again, like we can't take advantage of any of this stuff because we're running in a single container. Simple Python configuration, multiple work. Well, we just need simple. Yeah, I'm not convinced. Okay. Again, maybe I'll go talk to some other folks about this, like that are more into Python, and maybe they can give me a reason. But if they just keep spitting back what this says here, then it means they really don't know why. They just read this and they saw those words and went, well, I shouldn't use that. So again, I'm not convinced, but I wanted to investigate a little bit further, and we know a little bit more about what we are using, which is kind of important. But we have solved, at least at this degree, that stuff. So we'll stop the video here, and then we can look into something else, okay?